Live in the human paradise. Breathe the pure air of heaven. Longevity, vitality, and a lifetime of bliss.
住在人间小天堂，呼吸天堂纯气，延寿长生，幸福一生。
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty intense. It's both really technical and, honestly, quite controversial.
That's putting it mildly.
We've got these sources. On one hand, a super detailed engineering breakdown of this, unique air purification system.
Right.
And then alongside it, this really radical piece, a theory about what really causes cancer by Fuchi Wu and Junshi DaGe. Seems worlds apart at first glance.
Yeah, you wouldn't immediately think they belong together, but the sources make a direct connection, a very explicit link.
Okay.
So that's our job today, right? To follow that link. We need to unpack their argument, and it's a big one, that cancer isn't fundamentally about faulty genes.
Which is the standard view, pretty much.
Exactly. Instead, they call it a chronic poisoning phenomenon. And once we get our heads around that idea, the scale of the threat they're describing,
Then we look at the tech.
then we dive into the technology they propose as the only real solution to these environmental toxins they blame.
And we have to start with the most provocative claim, because it sets the stage for everything else.
Definitely.
The sources flat out suggest that modern medicines focus on gene defects, finding and fixing them. They call it, and this is a direct quote, modern medicine's most expensive and successful illusion.
Wow. Strong words.
Very. They're basically saying this focus has, maybe unintentionally, distracted everyone from the primary cause. Just relentless, chronic exposure to toxins.
It's a huge challenge to the established way of thinking, isn't it?
Totally.
They're essentially saying, look, when you tell someone they have a cancer gene, you push them towards thinking it's just fate.
Right, like it's unavoidable.
Yeah, predetermined. When, according to them, the real power lies in controlling the environment that's actually damaging the cells in the first place.
Okay, I get the focus on environment, but are they just dismissing genetics entirely? I mean, we know about things like BRCA genes, high-risk factors. Are they saying that's all wrong? Or is it something else?
No, they're not ignoring genetics, but they are, let's say, redefining its role significantly.
How so?
The source, the true face of cancer, it argues that gene variations, mutations, they're the result, the consequence of that long-term toxic hit. They're not the starting point.
So the DNA damage comes after the poisoning starts?
That's their model. You don't inherit the illness itself, maybe just the susceptibility. Then the constant toxic exposure damages the cell over time until the DNA finally breaks or mutates. It's like a desperate survival attempt by the cell.
Okay, that does reframe things quite a bit.
Yeah.
So let's get into the mechanism. How does this toxic load, as they call it, actually trigger cancer at the cellular level?
Well, they think of the human body as a kind of a continuously operating biochemical factory, constantly processing things.
Makes sense.
The explanation they give is all about accumulation. Cancer happens, they say, when the speed and concentration of toxins coming in consistently beats the speed the body can get rid of them or neutralize them.
Like a bathtub overflowing. You can handle a trickle, but not a flood.
Exactly. That's a good analogy. And when you hit that critical saturation point, the cell's whole system, its metabolism, its DNA repair functions, even the mitochondria, it starts to collapse under the strain.
It just can't keep up anymore.
Right. The cell can't function normally, so it switches to this kind of emergency survival strategy.
And that leads to one of their key phrases, doesn't it? They say cancer is simply poison cell survival behavior.
Yes. The cell is damaged past repair, so it replicates wrongly, but it's still trying to survive. It's doing the best it can under lethal, constant pressure from the outside.
It shifts the blame from an internal error to this external environmental pressure.
Completely. And to grasp that pressure, you need to look at the sheer range of things they identify as the attackers. The compounds hitting our DNA, causing oxidative damage. It's not just, big industrial spills.
No, it's the background noise. The invisible stuff we're breathing, touching, eating every single day. The source gives this daunting list. We're talking benzopyrene, nitrosamines, heavy metals. Okay, some of those are obvious, like from cigarettes or heavy industry.
Sure, the known culprits. But then it gets into the everyday stuff. Phthalates, from soft plastics, formaldehyde from furniture, coatings.
Things in your house right now.
Probably. And then the ones they really emphasize because they're so hard to avoid. The airborne toxins.
And we need to be specific here. They pinpoint PM 0.1 aerosols and VOCs volatile organic compounds.
Let's break that down for you listening. PM 0.1 means particulate matter that's only 0.1 micrometers across. That's incredibly small, smaller than a virus.
Wow.
So tiny that most regular filters, even good ones, don't catch them. They go straight past your nose and throat defenses, right into your bloodstream, your organs.
That's scary. And VOCs.
Those are the gases off-gassing from basically everything manufactured. Paints, cleaning sprays, new car smell, carpets, furniture, it's everywhere.
So the theory is this constant trickle of various toxins damages cells until they just break. They can't repair anymore, and that's when the cancerous change starts.
Exactly.
And if you connect that idea to diseases that seem to run in families, it changes that picture too.
That's the next big piece of their argument, dealing with familial cancer, where medicine usually points to shared genes.
They point somewhere else.
They say the common factor isn't genetic memory, it's simply shared exposure. Generations living in the same way, in the same place.
So the environment is basically mimicking genetics. You're not inheriting a bad gene, you're inheriting the same old house, the same well water, the same cooking methods.
Precisely. And they give really concrete examples, especially for, say, older family groups in certain regions. They talk about families sharing the same land for generations.
Okay.
Burning the same local wood for heat, eating the same traditionally cured or smoked foods, using the same type of cooking oil maybe, drinking from the same local water source.
Makes you think about family traditions differently, doesn't it? That shared Sunday dinner becomes a shared chemical exposure repeated year after year.
Yes. And that's why, they argue, it looks like genetics. The toxic load hits that saturation point in different family members, maybe at different ages, but it often causes the same type of cancer because they're all exposed to the same specific toxins.
The environment is the constant, so the outcome looks pre-programmed.
It just mimics a genetic pattern.
And they also offer some structural proof related to where cancer shows up in the body, right?
Yes, that's another key point. If cancer was purely a systemic genetic defect, like a flaw in the original blueprint,
Then shouldn't it appear everywhere at once, in all cells with that blueprint?
logically, yes. Or at least be much more widespread systemically. But that's clearly not what happens.
No, it tends to be localized. Random, almost.
Exactly. It pops up in specific organs or tissues, or, as they put it, in the areas where the toxin concentration has exceeded the saturation point, which, they argue, strongly supports the idea that it's an environmentally driven thing, a localized poisoning event, rather than some fundamental error in the body's genetic design spreading everywhere. The genes react to the poison, they don't start it.
Okay, so if we follow this logic,
Yeah.
if cancer is chronic poisoning, then the solution has to be stopping the poison.
Right.
And that brings us to the air. The sources identify air as, like, the ultimate source. It's continuous, it's everywhere, and it's really hard to detect the threats in it, a constant source of cell damage.
And this is the bridge to the technology. They explicitly state that to achieve true cell stability, self-repair, which is the aim of their longevity slow aging project,
Okay.
humans basically must live in a 100% pure air environment, verifiably pure. That's a huge requirement.
It sounds almost impossible given what we just discussed about PM 0.1 and VOCs. So how do they get from that requirement to an actual machine?
They get there with this device, the Air Six-Free Maze Purifier. And the claim is massive. They call it the world's only device that truly filters toxic airborne particulates and aerosols. Only one.
That's the claim. Specifically designed to tackle that PM 0.1 problem, the stuff that slips through normal filters. The idea is the machine does the cleaning, so your lungs don't have to act as living filters.
Okay, let's get into this maze. It sounds complex. This isn't just pushing air through paper, is it?
No, not at all. It's a deliberate rejection of standard passive filters like HEPA.
Which are good for bigger things like dust.
Great for dust, pollen, mold spores. But they say HEPA fails against those tiny, often wet PM 0.1 aerosols. This tech attacks the particles differently using chemistry and electricity. It's a 5-step process.
5 steps. Okay, step 1.
Step 1 starts with what you might expect, an ionization zone plus dual electrostatic pre-filters. Think of it as the first line of defense.
Catching the easier stuff. Dust, pollen, bigger plastic particles, some gases.
Exactly, handles the bulk load. But then step 2 is where it gets really different, the secondary ionization stage.
What happens there?
2 main things. First, it actively neutralizes pathogens, bacteria, viruses, and it starts breaking down complex chemical toxins. Okay, but you said there was something crucial electrically.
Yes, this is key. It charges all the remaining particles and aerosols, no matter how tiny, with a uniform negative polarity.
Negative charge. Okay, why?
Think of it like painting a target on every single tiny pollutant. It prepares them for the next stage, the main capture mechanism.
Right, which is step 3. The sacrificial black box.
Yeah.
Sounds dramatic. It's the electrostatic collection maze box. What's being sacrificed?
It's the toxin itself that's being, well, neutralized and locked away permanently. This is their answer to the ultrafine particle problem. Here's how it works. Those aerosols, as they move through this high-voltage field, they lose their water content, they dry out.
Okay.
So what's left is just the dry, toxic residue.
And because that residue is now negatively charged from step 2...
It gets powerfully drawn magnetically to positively charged plates inside this black box, like super strong static electricity. The source describes it as the toxic matter being solidly plated and irreversibly fixed onto these plates. The poison aerosol becomes a solid inert layer stuck to the metal, permanently locked away.
That's a really important distinction for you listening. Regular filters just trap stuff. This claims to change the state of the poison and lock it down electrically.
Exactly. It's not just filtering, it's like deactivating and immobilizing.
Okay, what if something somehow slips past that?
And then you get step 4, the maze effect. The air is physically forced through this path with lots of repeated, very sharp turns. A chaotic, narrow channel.
Why the sharp turns? What does that do?
It forces collisions. Any remaining nanotoxins literally get slammed into the inner surfaces of the machine.
Okay.
And those surfaces are designed for adsorption. That's adsorption with a D. It means the particles stick firmly to the surface. They don't get soaked in like a sponge absorbs water. They collide and stick. The aim is nothing gets through.
Total capture through collision and sticking.
That's the idea.
Which leads us finally to step 5. The output. The promise.
The promise of 100% pure air, defined by their Six-Free standard.
Six-free.
What do you mean?
Dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free, smoke-free, odor-free, and heavy metal-free. The whole 5-step process is engineered to eliminate all those constant toxic inputs that, according to their theory, cause cells to collapse and turn cancerous.
And the sources, they really double down on this, don't they? They conclude by saying this machine isn't just, a fancy air cleaner. They call it, quote, the one true key to unlocking humanity's lifespan shackles.
It's an incredibly bold claim, especially in what looks like technical documentation.
Yeah.
But it ties directly back to their core premise. If you accept their argument that constant environmental poisoning is the root cause of cell failure and aging,
then you need to stop the poison.
Right. And eliminating the most pervasive, continuous source, the air we breathe, becomes the absolutely critical first step towards longevity and healthy cells.
So let's try to synthesize this for you. We've gone on this pretty wild journey, starting with redefining cancer not as genetic destiny, but as this phenomenon of chronic poisoning. It's a structural problem of toxin buildup breaking the cell.
Right. And ending with this highly complex piece of engineering specifically designed to eliminate that poisoning from the air.
I think the core takeaway really is that these sources are pushing for a massive shift, a shift in focus, away from just dealing with the consequences like fate and surgery towards environment and prevention. Their underlying suggestion is, if we can actually conquer these continuous low-level air toxins that damage our cells day in, day out, maybe we conquer the root cause of why cells fail in the first place. It flips the whole approach from fixing the damage to stopping the cause.
And that leaves us with a really potent final thought, especially building on that idea of familial exposure, the shared environment.
Yeah.
If cancers that run in families are actually due to shared environments and lifestyles, what other environmental contaminants beyond the air this machine tackles are we maybe passing down silently through our water, our soil, the food grown in that soil, things we never test for in terms of their long-term cumulative impact?
We could be unintentionally creating this vast, unseen, toxic inheritance for the next generation.
A lot to think about there. Still so much digging to do.
Absolutely. Profound questions remain.
Indeed. Until next time, keep digging deeper.
The Air Six-Free Maze Purifier is the world's only device that truly filters toxic airborne particulates and aerosols. Its core design returns the duty of air cleaning to machines, so people no longer act as living filters. Air Six-Free means dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free, smoke-free, odor-free, and heavy metal-free. 5 purification steps. Step 1: Ionization zone. Dual electrostatic pre-filters. Captures dust, pollen, plastic microparticles. VOCs and toxic gases. Step 2 Secondary ionization stage. Neutralizes pathogens and toxins. Charges all remaining particles and aerosols negative. Prepares them for final capture. Step 3 Electrostatic collection maze box. The sacrificial black box. Permanently locks away ultrafine pollutants. Aerosol droplets lose water in airflow. Residual toxins deposit onto positive plates. Solidly plated, irreversibly fixed. Step 4 Maze effect. Forces airflow through repeated sharp turns. Nanotoxins collide with surfaces and are completely absorbed. Step 5 Output pure toxin-free pure air. System delivers the purest air on Earth. Dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free. Smoke-free, odor-free, heavy metal-free. Conclusion. This is more than a filter. It is the one true key to unlocking humanity's lifespan shackles.